Welcome to episode 6.
Woohoo!
Yay, celebration
Yeah.
of Digital Minds and Dark Dreams. I'm Alicia Domínguez, an English philologist and dark dreamer.
And I'm Cecilia. I'm the tech-savvy growth guru.
And today we want to bring you the wonders of why the powerful world of the unconscious is out of AI reach. Dun, dun, dun.
Ta-da!
And that's because we've been talking about AI this week, but also in episode 5, we were talking at some point about AI, and when we were talking about the shadow, we were talking about technology. If you remember, one of the shadows, the biggest shadows, is in technology.
Yeah.
And then you happened to send me a webinar.
So sorry.
No, that's okay, because it did a lot of good things to my brain.
That's good.
So in this webinar, is this thing recording? Yes, it's recording. So why did you send me this webinar? What did made you think about, why was it important for you? You've been doing some AI meetings and stuff, haven't you, lately?
Yeah, I'm really fascinated by AI, and we have been discussing it so many times as well. It's like when you said, "Oh, I've been using ChatGPT for something," it's like, yeah, I do that almost all every day, and I think. Well, you're kind of a bit more like careful. I'm like really jumping into new stuff and thinking this is really exciting. This is so fun. And I know there is this discussion about the ethics of this, but I really see how much AI can help in
Yes.
certain situations. But of course, I'm not blind for kind of the thing about the ethics side of this. But when I saw that webinar, I was like, okay, we have been discussing AI so many times, so maybe this would be something that you found interesting as well. So I just listened to this guy, and I thought, okay, I'll send it to Alicia. Maybe she will find something interesting there as well. And it was kind of fascinating getting your reaction to it, I must admit.
Well, I surprised myself as well, because I felt kind of, when talking about the shadow last week, 2 weeks ago, by watching and listening to this video, this webinar is the kind of thing that I would consume for hours in the past. And there's so much animus, male,
Dominance,
yes, mentality.
testosterone.
Yes, all those, so much of it that was running my life. And I've been doing all this work with my analyst on getting in contact more with my feminine side, in the sense of listening more to my artistic, my inner thoughts, my more connected with, not that I wasn't connected with nature, but more into my own body, meditative state, and balance things out a little bit. And when I listened to this and I watched this webinar, I think I had like a physical reaction. My body went, "Oh, that's what you've been running away from. That's what has been hurting you." Now, it's not so much what they were talking about, that's content. The content was fine, perfect. The arguments were okay. There were a couple of things that we could discuss,
Yeah.
but it was how it was run.
So from a kind of a coaching background, I'm really, really curious. And like, what were the triggers? If you kind of not talk about what he said or the content of this webinar, what were kind of the triggers triggering you to go like, I would really want to shut this off?
Yes, it was first, they were just visually there was all these corporate landing setting. So they were all men. At some point there was a woman talking, but they kind of referenced her lightly at some point.
Yeah, but yeah, because I'm thinking just about the webinar with Peter Hinson's. I didn't watch the whole thing. I just saw the webinar with him. So
Right.
it was only him on the screen. And yes, I saw he was kind of wearing a shirt, like a suit, and the background. But
Yes.
that was kind of, he was the main focus of this webinar. So I knew it was going to be a male. So,
But it
but
was
even
everything.
though,
the beginning of it, the presentation, and there was another speaker before him, and it was all like, man, you all look like you have a stick up your ass. Just connect with your femininity, it's all right. These clothes are making you go really, yeah, you're wearing a tie. I mean, it's fine because that's the kind of, they're targeting an audience, they're targeting companies, they're targeting
business
CEO.
leaders.
But we know what happens in that space.
Yeah, we do.
You know about our past in those spaces. And you and I are working so hard to clean,
Remove us.
We kind of, that's okay. We need that, but not so much of that in that way. And then there was a point where he said he loved computers. And so I'm a computer geek. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I'm a computer geek and I had these computers from centuries ago and I collect them and then blah, blah. And I thought that was interesting. But then when he said that he had either rented or bought like this church place and he had put during COVID and he put all his computers there, I was like, sacrilege! Mother Earth, come here, because this guy is just, it's like bringing inside. I know that the building itself could be masculine if it's been man-made and if it's a place for God's veneration and worshipping. And God, as we understand it in Christian terms, is male, although we could discuss that too. But it's a building, it's a sacred building for meditation and spirituality. It could represent the womb. And you're fitting in the womb this technology that is man-made and is artificial. I mean, my brain was doing this really, really fast.
Sorry, I'm laughing. Yeah, but
but it's good. No, you know what I mean? It's just like I was fascinated with my own thoughts, and now my finger was like,
as I told you, I found that really fascinating because that was something I didn't really put a thought into. I just looked at the place and I saw the place and I said, it looked like a really cool place. It looks like a nice place. But yeah, computers, yeah, he's a geek. He likes computers. But nowhere near. I was like, well, okay, let's go on. What is he talking about? So for me, that was kind of nothing I noted down or took notice of. It was just, okay, he has a huge collection of Macintoshes. Good for him. As I told you, the only thing I kind of noted down was, okay, I would agree with his wife that I would have a problem with having all these computers in my house. So good for him that he actually got a place to store these.
Yes, and he did something about it, yes. But no, and it's good that he's exploring and he's doing something about this passion and he's actually listening to his internal voice and he's doing this journey and that's great. But for me, it was the shock, and it was obviously a personal thing, and the realization of what happens when you slow down and start picking on your own thoughts. And what you said to me many times, what your reactions to things, and don't just let them pass by and switch off that phone. Just keep going, see what happens.
But I think that's a good thing that you actually didn't stop him. You actually decided to listen through the whole thing instead of just going like, no, sorry.
Yeah, and then what kind of feedback would have given you? No, Cecilia, I just thought that it just sounded too male for my liking, so I decided not to continue listening. That would have been really stupid. That would have been really childish. That would have meant also not really making the most of my therapy. And it wouldn't have really done anything. It would have put me back in a place of insecurity, of denial, of rejection. No, just take distance. And this is maybe a very good example of what we've been talking about in the last recent podcast, in all our just take this distance and being able to feel what you feel, but at the same time be logical about it and just separate,
separate the two. Yeah.
And get a good, your judgment on things. Just change the approach. Again, because I was telling you before open the microphones that my main function, my strong function is feeling, then the first initial actions or reactions to things are very impulsive and they're very extreme. So If I don't like something, I'll say I hate it. And if I really like, I'll love it forever. And it'll be like, even with people, oh, I love this person, pedestal, pedestal, pedestal. And if that person, for whatever reason, one day fails me, I get distraught and it's all mine. And the other person is like, what the
Yeah. Oops. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I've kind of learned to regulate these also because since I've met you and when I've gone on one of my tangents, you've gone, but I wasn't thinking that. Like, okay, Alicia, it's in your head. And yeah, that comes also because of the complexes and experience, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But you need to learn to identify, which is the journey we all have to do, identify when it's other person's shadow, when it's your own. So, but that
Yeah.
was last episode. So go and check that out, people. But yeah,
But
the
it
AI,
is kind of the thing as well, because
yeah.
I had it just kind of a little spin-off, but I talked to a client earlier this week, and she said something about, yeah, I got into this therapy session, and the only thing I was told that you can't fix all others. I needed to work on myself, and she was like, I was like, yeah, but that's actually the truth. Sorry to say, it's like
Yeah.
the only person we can actually help is ourselves. You can't fix other people. You need to fix yourself. And you can fix it's like we do. We fix ourselves all the time. It's always something new we can work on and something new that kind of pops up. And you've been working with his aunt or his uncle, and the big issue is actually this thing, and you go like, oh my God.
Yes.
But for me, like this is a typical kind of a black and white thing, which for me in a coaching session, I was go, okay, so is it only like the black and white? And I love how you actually just said, okay, I'm going to watch this through.
Yes.
I won't shut it off. I'm actually going to watch the whole webinar through, even though in my mind and in this church, I say, no, no, I know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's working
I've
on your minor functions as well, working on your, and the opposite of what you would do and challenge yourself. And every time I've done that, we do this without noticing. Sometimes we go, okay, come on, let's just give this a chance. When you give something a chance, you're actually working against that initial impulse. And it's happened to me, for example, with things that I would have never watched before, like history channels. I like them as long as they're not wars. I mean, history is full of wars,
okay.
because I like everything pink, even though I'm in the Gothic, I'm a pink girl. I'm a unicorn. I'm a Gothic unicorn. So,
I know.
when I've seen, for example, Alistair loves these documentaries about Second World War, and okay, let's watch this together. And it will say, and I'm like, oh, really? And it's like, yeah, because you've told me about the Gothic, this, that, and the other. And when I've been seeing this, I've thought of you that you might actually like. So it's gone like a step ahead. You might actually like this because of all these elements that you've told me in the past. And I'm so glad he didn't make me watch these documentaries, because I was actually thinking of all the other things that I wasn't considering when watching these documentaries. I mean, to start with the historical, it's something that's happened. And they are not made like they were before. We have more information about certain things that we didn't have before. You have colors, you have pictures, you have people who've been interviewed. You have, there's so much to that than you initially think. You're always going to learn something, even when you are watching something that you think you already know all about. There's always a learning. Even
Yeah.
from a crap teacher, you can learn something. So giving yourself that chance in general, there's always something new you come out and you walk out with that is very, very positive. So I'm glad I actually stayed and watched it all, because there were a lot of moments that I thought, I knew that, or I already said that, but this is kind of a confirmation. Cecilie and I, we've been talking about this. I'm kind of glad that a man is also saying that, because it's another point of view saying the same
Yeah.
thing. Okay, there's balance there. And yeah, there was so much. Now we can talk about everything, that if you want to start with all maybe the pros and the cons, and then people can make their own mind about AI, because it's so
But
much.
yeah, because it's kind of for many people, my clients as well. I have many people that are really like me, like curious, jumping in, trying things. And then you have the more skeptical ones in AI. No, we're never going to touch it. This is scary, scary, scary. And I just remember last year I was editor of this magazine, and we were going to do a thing. This was for Norwegian bakers in what is it called? Yeah,
Convention?
confectionaries.
Okay.
Yeah, making cakes and all
Yeah.
these stuff. And last year, in the Norwegian, what do you say, bake off with the confectionaries, there were 2 or 3 of the contestants that actually had used AI or like 3D modeling.
Oh, yes.
And then suddenly it was a huge thing in a discussion going like, yeah, but is that okay? Is that something to do? So for
Hmm.
this magazine, we were actually then diving into both AI and 3D technology and everything. And I remember the one lady, we were 3 people interviewing a friend of mine who is really into this 3D AI world. And she said, "Oh, this is scary. This is really scary. I don't want to write this piece because I find this really scary. AI and the way everything. No, this is scary." And I was like, really fascinating for me because I'm on the other side. It's like, look at all the possibilities. Look at all these things it actually can do. And oh, yeah, I'm really on the complete opposite side, even though I can see that there are dark sides with this,
Yeah.
like put in the wrong hands.
Yes.
It's about the ethical thing about this. So actually, I just told you before this one, and I went to this other webinar talking about AI and bots and how you can build things. And he said, always remember to say thank you and please to ChatGPT or whatever AI tool you use, just to be sure.
Just in
I was
case.
like, oh,
Mm.
actually, I really like that one because he said, you never know. So please say please and thank you and be sure that you always like say, I appreciate this and thank you. This was a good thought. So just
Yeah, because it's kind of polite. How can I help you today? The ChatGPT says, how can I help you today?
yeah,
And
it's always so polite.
yes, and
It's telling you like this is a great idea. It's like I just saw the other one. Certainly, it's like it's always positive and going like this is a great idea. It's like, and you go,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, but it's some of us, yeah, we do. I suppose within the people, because I am a bit like that. I'm not the first jumping into things. Um, and I think some people fear, I'm not as bad as some, I'm kind of cautious. I first need to analyze it, understand, and have my own opinion because I don't like when people say, oh, let's watch Game of Thrones because everybody is watching Game of Thrones. And I'll go, my own time, please. And I'll have my own opinion. So I think I'm like that for everything. So there's going to be a group of people that will like, yes, but don't impose it.
Yeah.
Then I'll decide when it's right. So I was probably the last person in this universe, in this world, to have a mobile phone. And when I did, I'm glad I did because it was very useful. And it kind of saved my life if I not had a mobile phone because I had my ex-boyfriend chasing me up, and having a mobile phone kept me in contact with people and kept me safe. So, and that's also the beginning of AI technology in all its forms is the beginning of AI. It's just that in the recent years, on the last year or so, it's gone like really
Yeah, but
big. It's been there for
like
a
he said
while.
in this webinar, AI started in the 1950s.
Correct, with computers.
Yeah.
Computers, that's it. And even before that, I started to think about when did we first saw the first robots, because I was telling you the first thing I think of is iRobot. And then I go, but then there was also what is the other one? There is the manga version is Ghost in the Shell. And then before that, and I started going back in time, Terminator. And that was like, whoa, scary as hell. And then before that, cartoon-wise, we used to have something from the first manga things, cartoons that we had in Spain, and it was called Mazinger Z. So it was a little guy running a machine, a robot, and they were fighting. But that's the interesting thing. In the head of the robot, the gigantic robot that came from outer space, it was a human being inside of those. So in the head, there was a human being running the robot.
Oh.
So, and then we have all the outer space things, science fiction, the people, Star Wars of the world, it's always been here and we love them. What's wrong with this now? And we have,
comparing AI to space.
You got to, like I said to my one of my students, we were talking about this the other day too, and I said, if you put now our great grandparents into a dentist office now, and they saw the machinery, they will think this is a killing machine or torture. And it's very useful because it does our teeth and it sorts out, the gaps and the holes.
But that's just what do you say, evolution in things. So for me, that hasn't got anything to do with AI in that sense, because that is just evolution in its form, where things actually tend to kind of develop in a, like previously when they have these hammers and stuff like fixing your teeth, you go like, oh my God, and now they have maybe more complex thing, but teeny tiny things and fixing. So that is technology, but in my head, it's nothing to do with AI in that sense, because AI is more the thing where we talk about, because AI, as we say, we're teaching them to kind of learn themselves. So, yes. For example, I think I told you in the last chat we had, or I can't remember. For example, I bought myself an electric car, yes. And when I drive to work, I have this tunnel which goes underneath a roundabout, and every time on the same place, my car, when you put it on autopilot, it kind of slows down the same place, and I'm pressing the gas because I'm not there. It's not my roundabout. We're kind of going underneath. It's kind of going like, can it just learn itself that it's when we're here, I'm pressing the gas every time. So just don't kind of take it into consideration. Learn that every time we're here, we're actually just keeping the speed. And for me, that is kind of a thing that was like, couldn't it just be a bit of AI here? So I wouldn't have to kind of press the gas every time, because it's really annoying. So it's kind of AI is the way it's kind of teaching itself, like the technology. It's like when you chat to ChatGPT or you use any of the other tools, so many tools out there.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, like we talked about how we use ChatGPT ourselves, and we get so many good recommendations and ideas. And when you're posting, if you're writing, if you're having presentations, it actually comes up with, really good suggestions. Yeah. So it's kind of a mind of its own. That's the artificial intelligence thing.
And there's a lot of fears there. I think. I think the Gothic aspect of all of these, and if then we kind of start talking about the unconscious and all these, is that we tend to fear what we don't know.
Yeah.
And this is going so quickly that it can get out of hand. So the unknown and this other, even though we have created this other, the fact that it can have its own ways of thinking and reasoning, then it stops being a machine. We're talking more of an organic being. Are we creating a new organic type of life that can actually even control us? I mean, I have a friend who's a biologist, and maybe a couple of years ago, we were talking about AI precisely. And she was telling me that in the medical space, well, it's not the medical service, it was the AI investigation. She was saying that they were testing two robots to AI intelligences. They were feeding sentences, and they were feeding them historical moments of humanity. And at some point, and it was a test, right? And at some point, one of the robots, they started saying, we need to destroy humans because they are bad for us. As in general, they can see, you look at history, we are bad for the planet and for ourselves. They picked on that because there's the complexity of the unconscious, I would say. There's a whole world that they can work on our conscious patterns. They cannot work yet on our unconscious patterns. And that's having access to all the archetypal, ancestral, that's organic. That's not machine made, as far as we know. So I think if people knew more about their unconscious and how that you cannot control what you dream. As you know, you can go, tonight I'm going to dream about this. It's not going to happen. Your brain is a different kind of thing, but a robot cannot pick on that. This kind of intelligence cannot pick on that because we are making these machines and we still don't know our unconscious material, where it comes from. So I think that's, maybe it's a theory, maybe it's an illusion, what I'm saying, maybe it's absolutely garbage, but I think that people really shouldn't fear AI in that sense, as in we're going to destroy humanity because they're evil, even though they're right, you know. And so they had to dismantle these two machines because they started thinking the words that we needed to be destroyed. But then there's also the fear of, is it going to take my job? It's a different kind of fear. Again, I see on Medium, we don't accept ChatGPT articles, and people, we want the real writers, and we like they're working like little machines trying to produce 1,000 of articles, so then you get paid more. Again, there's a lot of shadow in that space. That's kind of evil as well. So you're giving me the chance of using ChatGPT, but now I cannot use ChatGPT when I actually make wonderful images with it. You know, my Gothic mind in ChatGPT for me is fantastic.
Yeah, but creativity wise, for me, it's like I'm probably the opposite of you because I'm really curious. I've been kind of, when I was little, I kind of dismantled my phone just to see how it was inside.
You're
So
technologically curious. I'm curious at a different level.
yeah, because I'm really good. Oh, this is so for me, like we talked about another tool I use for social media, and you said couldn't be bothered because we might not use it. And for me, it's like I'm just jumping on new things and going like, yeah, this is really good. How can I use this? Because this is kind of my view on things. It's like, how can I use this for me, for my clients?
Yeah.
So for me, one of the things I actually help my clients with is the tools because I can see how things are connected and see, okay, if you have this tool, you can have this tool. But if you use, for example, do you have this web page? This could be connected to this and this, but this doesn't work and this doesn't work. So for me, the technical thing is a part of me because I think it's really fun and creative. And as you say, if you put, for example, into, we have so many different AI tools we can use, but getting images, as you say, and using AI, for example, when I use Photoshop and you want to just edit out the person, it's just mark it and suddenly it's gone. It's like things you used to spend hours doing. You go like, oh, yay. For me, it's just like, okay. So, but I actually listened, I don't know, I don't think it was the webinar I sent to you, but I think when we talk about, for example, work life and how AI will affect us. I think that in the future, I think having kind of what do you say, a stamp on it saying like designed by humans or human things like that would be a stamp where you can say that this is actually human made instead of this is technology. So I think for me that is something that really resonates, like for you say writing things. So instead of having it, you would have a stamp going like this is actually made by me. It's not AI, it's human made. It's
I think that
human.
it will never disappear, will it? If you think about it in terms of yeah, absolutely. I think you're making me think of I do crochet, you know, that I've gone back to, and that's handmade, that's a human made. You could say, yeah, but a machine could do that for you. Yeah, but it's not the same. So can you get, for productivity, for making things going faster, for whatever, you can have a machine that is going to make this cape that I'm making and it's taking me months. But what people at the end of the day, they're going to appreciate, a type of client is going to appreciate having the option of waiting for months because I want that person to make me that cape because it's just that one unique in the world with those colors, whatever. And it's going to be, you know, it's going to be tailored to me. And another thing is, well, I don't give a monkeys. I want something cheaper and I want the same. It depends on how you're going to use it. So they don't have to eliminate each other. They can cohabit again.
Yeah.
And we keep going back to traditional things because why do we have to wipe out things that were working perfectly fine when new things come along. I'm of the idea. I'm also curious as you, but I'm just more cautious. I'm more like I think I get really it's very tiring for me to get around my head intellectually. I find it tiring. So my brain wants to save energy on having to think too much. But I'll get there. Just wait for me. I'm the little tortoise. But it's like when I had my physical school as well. I was very pioneering having tactile screens and having all these touch screens that the kids could draw and do things, because I knew that technology in that sense, more intelligence technology, allowed me to speak with people from other countries and bring authors into the class. It was fantastic and it was pioneering. It was in
Yeah.
education. So we're talking about something that you can apply in education, and then we can talk about the medical thing that we were talking about before. This is so fascinating. All that is so good because it improves our lifestyle in so many ways. The learning, like kids, like impeded kids that they have speech problems and they do these books that's fascinating. Come on, but you cannot wipe out traditional books or braille books because of technology. We need to learn how to use everything in the right measure.
Like I think that was the Peter guy who said there was an app. Oh my God. And I was like,
I love that. Yeah.
There was an app for people with what do you say? Vision impaired.
That's right. Yeah. And
yes. So it actually, you could hold the phone above the book and it would automatically kind of interpret the book for the child.
The sign language, it was
Yes.
the sign language. Yes, yes.
And I was like, oh my God, I was kind of flabbergasted going like, this is why I love technology, because you can do so many things. You can improve people's life. You can, and for me as well, as you know, with the ChatGPT, it's like you have your own co-worker just helping you out, coming out, for example, with idea generating thing. And you go like, I would really like to speak about this, and how can I do this? Do you have a suggestion for this? And so many great ideas.
We've been doing it with Google and YouTube. This is just the next step. And it's more precise because it has access to the worldwide library of content that we humans have put there. Obviously, a lot of things need to be double checked, and we need to, that's like the starting point of saying, okay, how would you structure this? And then you can go against that completely. But it's what you're saying, it gives you all the possible angles so you don't miss out. And then you need to bring your own voice. You have to write your own book, but you can also play with the tool and see what brings. It is fun.
Yeah, it is. And but the thing is, like, for example, when we talk about the ethical stuff, which is always, it comes in every time we speak about, like, and that is, as I said, say please and thank you. But of course, there is an ethical thing about it, because it's the discussion about like personalized stuff, personal information. And I know that has been, when I talk to different companies here in Norway about this, that is the thing about like, but it's, we can't let people use it because what if they put in like personal information? And it's like, that is kind of a ground rule thing, that you don't put in personal information. Like, you don't do that. You ask kind of on a, what is a rounder, so but it's just, I think important is that we actually use it, like you learn people how to use it the best way, and we think about the ethical. I know it was actually a program on TV here in Norway now, in regards to limiting.
Sorry, my cat is going behind the screen, and that's the racket you're hearing.
Okay.
You've stopped now, dear. Yes, okay. Sorry.
No, but just in regards to maybe, for example, when it comes to ChatGPT, it's like limiting ChatGPT, if that was an option, because looking at the ethical dilemmas, that would be a thing. And maybe, so it's like, oh my God, are they going to kind of stop us from using this?
Yes.
When you know that it's so many things you can actually use AI for, it makes things so easy for. Now it's not just for the huge companies to build something. It's also for us as entrepreneurs to kind of build things. For example, I went to this webinar yesterday, building bots, and
Right.
looking at how you as an entrepreneur can actually build your own bots for Messenger, for emails, and it was just really fascinating. I was like, oh my God, this would be brilliant. But of course, this was a kind of a costly thing, but I was like, this could be worth looking
Yes.
into, because this is an opportunity you wouldn't have 10 or 20 years ago that would be a game changer for entrepreneurs
Yeah.
or small companies. It was just, and he was the guy saying, please say thank you, and and please.
So how would you build a bot for entrepreneurs? How would that work? As in to putting on your web page, to
They
you
had
can
different
have chats and
solutions.
things, right?
Yeah, it depends. He said they had built bots for coaches, for people selling stuff, for you name it. And they had built like, it's like if this person says, for example, you can go in, he was just showing how simple it was to say, what kind of tone of voice? So it was all these things where I work with the branding thing.
Yeah.
And he was like, so what is the company called? It's like, it was just fascinating, because this is the questions I ask my clients as well. It's like, what is the company called? Okay, what is your main target? So for me, for example, when we talked about building web pages,
And
in which I help clients with as well, it's like, yeah, what is the company? What is the kind of the brand name? What is the main focus? What do you do? What are your product services? Are you a coach? Do you sell branding? Do you sell counseling? Do you sell whatever? Write it in and just say, this is what I do. What kind of tone of voice? Would you have a happy, cheery one? Or would it be really, what is a business corporate voice? So you
okay.
can actually build this bot exactly how you want it. Say that, okay, I want it to be cheery and kind of a Norwegian, Scandinavian, whatever that would be. Or would it be corporate? Like, would it be humorous? Would it have kind of like, are gifts okay?
Yeah.
That is also something which I tell my clients
Yes.
is like
Yeah.
imagery, like using gifs, using smileys and emojis. Is that okay? Or is that something you don't do? Because it's just the way you portray yourself as a
Yeah.
business. So in this bot building things, it was just saying all of these things, filling out like the fundamental thing to tell the AI bot to say, this is kind of Alicia, for example, is Alice in Gothic land. She's selling courses like learn your dark sides and blah, blah, blah. And then you had the foundation for this AI bot to start chatting. So you would kind of build your what do you say? Say you wanted, if people message you on Facebook, for example, or LinkedIn or whatever, then you could have a bot replying to these. You didn't have to do that yourself. You can
Right.
have a bot replying with your tone of voice, your messaging, your
Mm.
branding, with a target of, for example, selling courses.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to sell, or you wanted to coach people, so I want them to book an appointment. That is the main thing. So this
Mm.
bot will actually chat with this person
Mm.
uh, at the end, kind of trying to get, and it was really looking at it. I look at your face and I just think, because it's
Yeah.
done in such a brilliant way that I thought, this is a person replying.
Yeah, but I have a problem with that.
Yeah, I would bet you did, but it's, yeah.
I do, because we already are coming across these bots and
Really?
we're getting them in the spam. And it's very annoying when you get someone saying, hi, I'm such a, what was the last one of the last ones? And I thought, you're a flipping bot. I'm Jensen Ackles. Yes, no, it was no. I'm Jess Padalecki's personal assistant, and we are giving one-to-ones sessions with him. So you've been selected, and you can talk to him. I mean, Jess Padalecki is Sam Winchester in Supernatural. Obviously, I'm a fan. You can see it all over the place that him and Jensen and everybody else in the series too. So what is a fan going to do with that? You get very excited. The teenager inside of you comes out, right? And then you have a conversation. I said, right, why would Jed Padalecki pick me up? in among all these other people. Well, you've been selected. So I had a conversation with this bot and I said, why should I trust you when they normally charge for these kind of events? How is that free? Well, and then it developed a very nice, fluid, coherent conversation. And then I broke the boat, the bot. And I said, he said to me, have you been to any of the conventions? And I said, no, I haven't. What about you? It took its time to reply, and he said, have you been to any of the conventions? I thought, you are a bot. Cancelled. So the human touch needs to be there for some things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let, not yet, a bot do that kind of chat with a client that I'm trying to bring to my brand.
Neither would I, because it's, for me, like talking to my clients is personal.
Correct.
But say that, okay, if it's kind of the, what do you say, a suggestion he had was somebody sending you a message on Messenger. So it wasn't you reaching out kind of, but it was this person. Say I would message you on Messenger and I would ask kind of something. And then this one replied, and he talked about there was this combination there of AI and the personal thing.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but I would definitely not, where we are at now, anything in the hands of AI in regards to communication. But this, I would really curious. And if I had the money to spend on this, I would really just look into it because of my curiosity.
Yeah.
I go like,
investigate.
Oh my God, this baby. And for me, for example, for me, it's the curiosity to see, okay, could this help me or could it help somebody else?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Because,
I suppose you have a first. My cats are very jumpy. Sorry about the noise and the racket, and
no
because
problem.
they're just playing around. I opened the door and this is what's happening.
Surrounded.
I suppose, like we're talking about your main function, your strongest or your primal function in the way your brain works. You probably, I don't know if you'll be in the perception side of things. So you perceive something and you kind of, okay, let's be curious about it. But you also have your intuition there. So anyway, I will have to investigate that further. But yeah, the reaction to things, to new things, it depends on how you are wired in your brain, your first instinct to certain things. So when it comes down to new advances, technologically speaking, then you are there and you're not scared, you're very brave, and you're not thinking of the negatives.
I'm not thinking about the consequences.
It's like, let's dissect this thing, Whereas I'm like cautious in that sense. I'm curious,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna jump into using it yet. Is one thing is being curious and trying to work it out and to understand more what it's all about. And another thing is actually incorporating it into your everyday life. I'm like, yes, okay. When everybody else has used it and I know it works, so in that sense, I'm a bit more cautious, even though I'm quite impulsive, not in this space. I suppose because of what I said before, for me, it's hard to understand the maths behind of it.
But that's actually quite funny when you say that, because working with marketing for so many years, this is how we actually look at the target groups as well. It's like, are you an early adopter, for example? Are you the person we would give something to for free because you would just jump on it and go like, this is fun, this is okay, let's try it out and see how this one works? Or are you kind of the last adopter? You have to see how the first adopters and the ambassadors would do it, and then people would have, I just use this curve because this is how it looks. It's like all these early adopters here, and then you have the masses kind of starting to use it, and then you're probably on the end of this one going like, I need to see how this has been done, how people have used it. Okay, could it be something for me? Because then you have loads of background information to use.
I'm an investigator, remember?
Yeah, but I'm not there. I'm in the kind of the early adopters going like, okay,
you're jumping, and I'm like, when everybody hates that, all right, with their head
is
in
the water cold? Oh.
Yes, is the water cold? Yes, you go first. Here you go.
I'm always jumping and go like, but I think that is something I see more clearly now when I'm getting older, and you see that the older we get, usually people get more kind of careful and careful. But I'm jumping into stuff, and I don't see, like, I have friends being really, what do you call it, hyper vigilant, seeing dangers all over the place, and I'm not there. I'm like, didn't really think of that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm more kind of jumping into it and looking, okay, how can I do this? And I want to be, because I don't trust, sounds really bad. I don't trust people enough to tell me that this is not something for you. So for me, it's more jumping into it and saying, okay, but this is something for me, because based on, like we have talked about, this patriarchal male dominant thing, and going like, this is not for you because you're a woman, and technology is not for you. And
it's not that, it's how you're wired.
but that is how I'm wired. But usually, I was like the digital manager of a huge company. And usually, even in that company with the title, I got to, yeah, but yeah, yeah, yeah.
Does
So
it
you're a
mean
female, and it's a ta 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 ta. And you go like, oh, that was me. Like, my God.
then the great mother, the negative part of it, you came out like, you came out like the Gorgon there. Turn you into stone if I could.
Kira. Oh, no, but that is probably me. It's just, I've been that way all since I was little, and it's just, for me, like doing all the coaching as well as, I've actually been that way since the beginning of time, or my time. Curious.
Yeah.
That's my middle name. I'm really, really curious about things. And
yeah, but you're technologically oriented. You're very curious about new things, and probably if we if we went back in time and we were in a tribe at the beginning of history,
I would be dead.
You will be you will be the guy. You will be dead. No, you will probably be the guy finding out fire and finding out how to fish better and bringing up new ways of surviving and bringing the clothes, and that would be a whole day in the cave. Tea's ready.
Yeah, but that is something you learn as well. It's like, I noticed, because when I thought about kind of my career, like since the beginning of time, my time, it's like, I need to have different things. I need to be allowed to be curious, to learn new stuff, to kind of like join webinars and be kind of curious in that way, learning stuff. Because for me, looking into the webinar we talked about, for me, it's like, what can I kind of bring with me in my journey? What can I take from the things he say?
Yes.
To my business, to my journey, for example, for my clients, for how we communicate or use when we do the podcast. Could I use something here which is kind of beneficial? So for me, it's always, what can I take from this?
Yes.
So that is kind of the what I say, the growth or the mindset I use when I go into webinars. It's like, okay, but sometimes I actually turn off as well, because then I think this is really bad, because I know all of this. This is not what it's supposed to be, or what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, and it's I think it's unavoidable. We can say that we can't stop this. This is happening. No. Which is like every tool, every invention, we need just to make sure that it doesn't end up in the wrong hands, which it will eventually, because it always does. Yeah. But going back a little bit to, if we look into the Jungian stuff, I actually asked the ChatGPT before we opened the microphones, and I asked, what would Jungian psychology say about AI? And I'm going to share, if you want, I can share just very briefly some of the things he came up and why I think the machine is right or wrong, or how that actually makes so much sense, which actually it does make a lot of sense. And the answers were, so it gave me 5 bullet points. It talked about archetypes, the collective unconscious, anima and animus, integration of opposites, and symbolism. So for archetypes, which we kind of touched on them briefly in the past, not much. We talked about the shadow, which is a kind of archetype. And it says something, I'm not going to read it, I'm just going to summarize what it says so people don't get bored. But it says like, if Jungian psychology suggests that humans, we are predisposed to certain universal symbols and themes, which are the archetypes, AI, this is very interesting, you're going to love it, could be seen as embodying archetypal motifs such as the wise mentor. Hey, maybe that's you. So it could be like a helper, which is what you were saying before, a helper in your journey, helping others through the new kind of mentoring through the AI. And it says, that we can also see it as a trickster. We could have it if it goes wrong, or the dark side of the AI could be like a trickster figure. But it can also represent a shadow because of the destructive part. So we talked about that a little bit the other day as well. So it can have all this spectrum, and it's a machine telling us about this. So obviously it doesn't have hard feelings yet about humans asking it these things. Then about the collective unconscious, he talks about, the collective, the unconscious, which is actually in the topic of our chat today. It says that obviously because it's a reservoir of shared human experiences and symbols that influence our behavior and perceptions. That's why I think a machine will never do that unless it's an organic being. I think that's what my theory is. If it's viewed as a manifestation of the collective human knowledge, which in a way is what it is, we go there to the chat and it has access to all the human knowledge that we have been putting there, uploading, but also aspirations. And that reflects back to our collective unconscious in algorithms, biases, and patterns. So it's actually picking on the human things, and it's like a big encyclopedia. So at this unconscious level, the AI will never be as powerful because it needs us to be that powerful, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Then it talks about, yes, the male and the female side, and it's bringing up Alexa or Siri because of the fact that we can put a voice and it can be feminine, masculine. And you mentioned that before. When you choose your bot, can it be with this voice or that voice? Culturally, you will make more friends or less. So yeah, that's also talking to the person's perception of the world and becoming very personal. And then it talks about integration of opposites, which I think is very good, as in human-like qualities with the machine functionality. And so that's very interesting from a Jungian perspective, if people develop these conversations. And then the symbols that we have there. So the quest for knowledge, power and control. So the development of AI could be seen as a reflection of humans' collective psyche, exploring themes of creation, innovation, and existential questions about the nature of consciousness and intelligence. And I like ChatGPT because of this. For example, if we go towards this side, if it's going to help me know more about the human brain, lovely. And then we go into the medical stuff that we were talking about before.
Yeah. But I think that the thing about the medical, both the medical and the brain, it's just because I'm into the neuroscience, as we know. It's just, and as a coach, I've actually sometimes just gone, okay, I just like pure curious. I have a client, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I have a problem with this, blah, blah, blah. Tend to go like maybe black and white. These are the kind of the patterns I see. So what would you recommend? And it's just so fun because you always have your own mind and you think, okay, exactly. I would actually recommend for this client to do this and this and this. And it's just so spot on. And sometimes it actually comes up with these things when you go like, oh, that was really a brilliant thing. I didn't think about that.
Yes.
And it's just so specific as well, because you can actually, it knows everything you know. You just have to write the right questions.
Yes, yes.
For example, with the meta coaching or the neuro coaching I do, I can, for example, say that based on this and this, I'm thinking this tool could be, or this, what do you say? Øvelse. Yeah, this tool or this, oh my God, now I'm losing the word. But this could be a good advice, not advice, but I give you a task.
Task. Okay, to give you a task. Okay, yeah.
Like a task or something you do.
Yeah.
Sorry, but then it's actually, it knows that specific task I'm asking you to do. So it's like, maybe this could be a good exercise for you, for this
Right.
client to do. And I was like, it knows this. It
Mm.
actually, so the more you ask, the more it kind of go into depth, and you can go. So that is really,
Exactly. What
yeah,
you need to know is, I think what people are mistaken as well, that you need to know what you are talking about to ask the right question. So it's not going to write a very intelligent essay if you don't give it all the information. And what I find with it when I'm doing the chat thing and I'm investigating things, I'm asking the chat, hey, what do you know about these? And then I pull the string and then I ask another question connected to that. And you go down the rabbit hole. And
yeah,
eventually you go, oh, yes, I have a book. And you go back to your book. The book is like the primal source of all this information. It's just that the way I see it is, I don't have access to all the books in the world, but the chat does.
yeah, it
So I
does.
can even ask for how many references do you know about this topic in the Gothic? Then it's very, very niche. I would have to spend years to find all that collection. And it brings a few. And from those, I go, and I know a few more. And I add to it because the human side of things needs to be there too.
Yeah.
But again, if you use it in that sense, you still have to do the hard work, which is what a lot of
What
places
you
are.
put in is what you get out. That's usually the thing. If you put shit in, shit comes out.
Ah!
That easy. But it's the same thing. For example, I did the same thing with the AI before this podcast episode, and I was like, first I said, could you come with a couple of thoughts or issues we could discuss in the postcard in this podcast? And he has kind of the thing about who we are, what our backgrounds are, and whatever. And here are a couple of thought-provoking questions that you can explore in your podcast episode. So he comes up with 5 different ones.
Okay.
And it's really into like Gothic literature and human psychology.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, but if this is kind of something for people not really into that, like psychology and Jungian Gothic literature. So I just asked them, well, I would like us to have a more common understanding that people can really relate to, even though they are not really into Jungian psychology or the Gothic. What could we then discuss?
Nice.
So then it comes up with a couple of totally different things with
Yes.
different views and different takes. And it was like,
But
it's
you
all,
need to know what you're talking
yeah,
about. And
what you
yeah,
put in is what you get out.
yes, yes, yes. It's not mind reading, but I think that one of the advantages I found with AI in general, for me as a writer, as a content creator, someone who's creative, is that I need to be super specific and making the right choice of vocabulary if I want. Yeah, so it's actually making us be a lot more
Clear,
accurate.
accurate and clear. And that's the same
Yes.
thing we talk about all the time, because when I talk to my customer and clients and the people taking my courses, is, for example, the prompts we talk about. If
Sure.
you're like, putting in something to make a picture, as you say, you need to be really specific.
Yes.
You
Yes.
can make great pictures and images and whatever you want to, but if you put in a bad prompt, bad things will come out. So the more specific and accurate you are, the better your results are. So that's for images. It's for ChatGPT, for the thing.
Yep.
So everything is like shit in, shit out. As I said, if you put in bad things will come out. But if you do it the right way and you learn how to put in the right prompts,
Yeah.
brilliant stuff will come out.
Yeah, no, and it's language at the end of the day. Again, is a communication and it makes you be linguistically more specific and uh it makes you keep working on yourself as a communicator.
And I actually thought about that because I was listening to this Stephen Bartlett's podcast with the relation. It was a couple who's kind of doing relation or counseling for couple therapy thing.
Okay.
And I was thinking, this is exactly what we talk about, because communication has been my thing all along the years, even though it's been digital communication. It's when I say something, or if I put out the post,
Yeah.
would, for example, Alicia read the same thing I think I'm putting out there? It's the same thing if you're in a relationship and you
Yes.
go and say something to your husband or your partner or whatever, and you say something and you think that he understands exactly what I'm saying because I'm saying it, so he must understand it this way. Not thinking that the other person, he or she, listens to you. But they also, for in communication, for example, if we're standing opposite each other, I would look at your body language. I would look at your facial expressions. I would listen to the tone of your voice. So for me, it's not just what you say, it's
Yes.
everything incorporated. I'm kind of using my hands a lot, so it's the semantic space as well.
Yeah, non-verbal communication.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that if you, for example, have an event, like this Wednesday, I went to an event, and I'm sure that if you would speak to all the people in this event, they would give you different answers and what they actually took away from that one.
Yes.
Even though we all listen to the same stuff on stage, they all would take different things from these presentations with them and find, oh, but the main thing for me was this. The main thing for me was this. So that is the thing I feel we get really black on white when we talk about the AI stuff and generating images. It's just, do the AI actually interpret the same thing you think you say?
No, because again, the human being, we all as individuals, we are all unique. And in our uniqueness, going to AI robot, iRobot, sorry, as well, when he said the main character, the robot, he says, I'm unique, aren't I? Because he can actually go the next step. But in iRobot, you also have a robot that can actually dream. If you remember the film, I mean, it's a novel. It started as a novel, and then it was turned into a film many years later. I think the book is from the 50s, if I'm not wrong. It's got the 3 laws of robotics. Yes, it's by Isaac Asimov, written in 1942. This guy was already thinking about this. And it talks about the laws, the 3 laws of robotics and all that. So the main character, this robot, is unique. And that's why humans cannot really stop him or terminate him because of the human side. But in that exercise, it's also me as a human, or us as humans, we are also putting a humanized characteristics on a material thing, on something that is an object. The subjectivity and always thinking that has feelings the way we do. They're so complicated. An AI thing right now cannot do all that exercise. It wasn't born from a human being. It wasn't fed. It's a different nature. It's a different thing. So it has limited ideas, phrases, concepts, whatever you want. And a human being comes with all this background that we keep talking about.
Yeah.
You can never clone to that kind of perfection, at least not yet, a human being. With time, yes, I read a book about all deaths. It was called All Deaths. And it was about different ways of perceiving death from the sea, from the microscopic lives to robots and science and all that. And it's so far, still is so far from that fear, from that machine taking over. Because I think it'll be an organic being with maybe, we might be those, again, going back to iRobot, the main character, played by Will Smith, has got Robert, a robot arm and everything. So it was operated because of an accident. So he was a blend of machine. Think about RoboCop. This is an old thing. And again, we have the human. It was, when did it become fascinating, the film? When the human started remembering his past and he used the robot body to take revenge.
Yeah.
But we are miles away. We're still in, how would you call that? Miles away. It's really far off from where we are. It's very baby steps at the time. And I don't even think we'll get to that level of being scared of the machine. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but still some of the robots, if you, for example, I went to what is it called again? Like a technology conference for a couple of years ago, and they have this robot on the stage. Can't remember her name. I was sitting here previously and thinking, what was her name? But that was really fascinating. And this is a couple of years ago, and I thought it was far off when I thought about this. Can actually, yeah, it was really, really amazing. So there are things, but the things that are available for most people now is probably not so
Yeah.
far ahead. But
Yeah.
even though it's far ahead, it's far enough ahead, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. No, it's very interesting. Okay. Do you fancy wrapping up? Well, we need to wrap up because most.
Yeah, I know.
But but wrapping up, maybe a couple of ideas. But could we wrap this whole concept? Do we think that the AI is going to be that powerful that is going to ruin the unconscious of the human richness?
Definitely not. When it comes to human will always be human, and that's our, what do you say, both strength and weakness.
Yeah.
I think that AI has come to stay, and I think
Absolutely.
you should be curious, and I think you have a huge advantage if you learn how to use it. Because thinking about, for example, the employment and work,
Yes.
for us as entrepreneurs or solopreneurs or whatever you say, small businesses, to get ahead, I think you would need to use AI
Yeah, I
and
agree.
use it smart, use tools like there are so many free tools to use. So definitely look into those if you put up some time and look into some stuff and just see how can you use it in your business, the way you work. How would things, or how could it benefit you? As you
Yeah.
say, if it was a bot, building a bot that helps you reply to stuff, or is it ideas, generating creative ideas? Is it to help you make presentations or whatever?
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend people to check it out and
Yeah.
maybe not be so scared of just
Yeah. It's
trying
just,
it out and see and be a bit curious. I think that would be my kind of stance for the
yeah.
AI. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there's an explore, as you said, is explore it first, and before you get carried away by what other people think, the negative side, just use your critical thinking and get your own idea, your own opinion about it, and listen to the pros and cons, and then have your own opinion. Absolutely. So very
Yeah,
nice. I think we could continue another day, even extending this and another episode at some point. I think it will come back to us.
definitely.
But if people want to know more about it, we'll leave links whenever we have them. We're still working on the web page and everything. But for now, they can check on some of these videos and recommendations. So today we talked about why the powerful world of the unconscious is out of AI reach. And I said what I thought about that. But I think we have a very balanced conversation about the pros and the cons. So yes, like, share, comment. We will love comments. And
Yeah, if anyone has any topics they would like to have us discuss, or
mm,
if it is in relation to AI or other things, if they need tips on tools and where to go and check things out. So please, yeah, message us down below or send us an email or anything. Would
yep,
love to hear from you guys.
exactly. Well done. Okay, so thanks a lot for another wonderful video podcast.
Yeah,
And I
thank
hope
you.
to see you very soon. Thank you, thank you. And yes, speak to you in the next one very soon. Another episode. Take
Bye.
care. Bye. Bye.